Hello everyone and welcome to Reentry. In this video I'm going to go through the checklist system and go through some of its features and how you can use it in Reentry. There's been quite a lot of feature upgrades and changes to it over the last couple of years, so I wanted to kind of make a little video that kind of covers the main things about using these checklists and the mission pad. So with that, let's go going. We are currently sitting inside of the Mercury capsule, and we're on the pad, and the cockpit will need to be set up and prepared for flight. So it kind of is in a cold and dark state. All I've done is to connect the batteries, which you can do on the side here. So you can use F to turn on the flashlight, and before we get started I'm also going to turn on some lights in the cabin, so you can do the cabin light switch to both to get some lights up and running. So the checklist system is accessed through the mission pad, which is opened by pressing M on the keyboard or the mission pad button on the view selector. The mission pad comes with a few different tabs that you can use throughout the mission. But the one that you're probably going to be using the most is the checklists tab. And this tab contains all of the checklists available for the Mercury capsule. And most of these checklists can be followed manually. You select what checklist you want to do, for example, the interior inspection T-90 minutes, and you can see that all of the steps are listed in the checklist. And you can either follow this manually yourself, or you can let the checklist system help you to execute this checklist. And you can do that by pressing either one of these two buttons here, which is called Run. The differences between these two buttons is how the steps of this checklist is inserted into an already existing queue of steps. This means that you can run multiple checklists at the same time, and you can select if a checklist kind of comes on top of the steps or in the bottom. So I'll go through that pretty soon. So in order to run these checklists, you will see that you can see the first one, main battery number 1 in, main battery number 2 on, and you can see that these were the ones that I showed earlier. So that's main 2, which is set to on, and then the other side here contains main 1 and main 3, which is on. And another way of running these checklists is to hit run. So you can just press any of these two, since we don't have any steps queued up. And now you can see that all of these steps are now added into the queue. And the header of the checklists that is about to start is listed initially. And you can hit this checkmark button to proceed from this kind of manual step. And a manual step is identified by this flashing green and blue color. This means that the checklist system is trying to grab your attention, and it requires you to read this and then hit the check mark when you're done. This could also be something like check this or that instrument and ensure that it's above 24 volts, for example. So now you can see that all of these steps has been copied from this checklist into this system. So now I'm going to hit the check mark, and now it goes through all of the steps in the checklist in order. And if something is already in the correct position, then it will go to the next step. So it automatically bypassed all of these because it saw that all of these switches were already in the correct position. But then it stopped at the phase shifter fuse, and it wants it to be connected, and right now it's not. It's off. And And to connect one of these, you just click on it, and you can see that now it's both online, or it's connected to the electrical system. And now it went to the next step, and that's also something that isn't yet set to the correct position. So you can just use these steps then to continue to get through the checklist. And it starts by setting up the fuses like this. And then it wants to continue, so let's just quickly go through all of them. Now it is at the manual step, so you can see that it's flashing. Ensure that the fire retro push button has the guard installed. So you can see that it has. And this is the guard. You can click on it to remove the guard, and right click on it to get it back in there. Hit the check mark, and it will continue. Next, it wants us to check the control fuel quantity and ensure that we have fuel at 100%. It is, etc. So that's kind of how you run through a checklist using this system. If you don't want to execute a checklist anymore, when you're done with it, hit clear all, and it will remove all the steps that you have added to the queue. However, you can see that, for example, in this case, there's quite a lot of steps that always needs to be run in a sequence. So what you can do is to first add this one. You can press any of these two, it doesn't matter. And then we can run. So now it's added all the steps here, and then we can go ahead and run this one too. And this time we want to add all the steps into the bottom of the list, for example. Now it has added the checklist steps of this checklist in the bottom of this one. So if I now just quickly press here, now you can see that abort capability has been added here. So if I go ahead now and go to the abbreviated interior check, and I also add that one to the bottom, you can see that it has now been added into the queue. And if you suddenly realize that you want to do another checklist right now, then you can go back and you can select the other one and say that, okay, wait, before I proceed, I want to add this checklist to the top of the stack. So now you can see that fly-by-wire has been added to the top of the stack, and you can go through it, and then it will automatically continue with the checklist that you were working on. And that's kind of the main thing about these two buttons. It allows you to run a checklist, and if you already have the queues, steps queued up, you can press this button here to add them to the top, which means that, okay, put it above what I'm currently doing, or you want to execute it after the entire queue that you've added so far. Another important thing here is that you can bookmark checklists. So for example, some of the checklists that you do quite frequently is the final checks, for example. I can go in and hit the star here, and it will be added as a bookmark. And there's a couple of other checklists that you do quite a lot, which could be, for example, the ascent, and then retro, checklists, reentry, landing. So when you have these bookmarked, and this is really handy in later programs such as Gemini and especially Apollo, where you have a lot of checklists that you need to navigate. This allows you to always have some of the most important checklists, some of the checklists that you use the most easily available whenever. So all I need to do is to just hit the retro and you will get right into it. You don't need to go back here. You can just press any of these and it will automatically just go to that checklist. The last thing I want to cover is that you can also edit checklists. This allows you to just modify how the checklist is. or even create your own checklists if you prefer to do that. There is a JSON file, which is just the storage file this is using. So whenever you're adding a checklist, it saves everything to a file. You can go in and edit that file to change what the bookmarks are named if you want to change that, or even the background color of each of these tapes if you wish. So that file is in the app data folder of the game. The last thing I want to cover in this session is another mission pad kind of thing, which is bound to Shift M, and this is the flight documents. And this allows you to open websites or PDFs that you have on your hard drive, access the flight manual for Mercury, or even the real manual that I've used when I was implementing this capsule. This is very handy if you want to, instead of using, for example, these checklists, you can load in the PDF of the real checklist and you can try to follow that. But it's important that there might be some deviations from the real checklist compared to what I have in my game, but the intent is that I always try to strive to make the procedures as correct as possible on those checklists where I'm able to. So these are two good things to use, and you can use this to load flight plans. You can follow flight plans. You can use it to check out things on a website while still being in the game, and so on. So take advantage of the different tools that you have on board, and it will make flight much easier. All of these tools are, of course, available in Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. So with that, thank you for watching.